This is Kale's Poultry Farm. Today, our one-day-old chicks are 18 weeks old, and this is their point of lay, the week that they're supposed to give us the first egg. But in our case, we already got our first egg when they were 15 weeks old, and today we are already at 20% production and getting more and more every day. And we have been asking ourselves why we were so lucky to get our eggs so early and to continue getting our eggs all the time. That is why we're going to look at how an egg is formed, how long it takes, and what initiates the forming of an egg. And therefore, today we are going to look at the reproductive system of a chicken. From the day a chicken is hatched, it has a fully formed ovary. The miniature of a mature organ already contains tens of thousands of potential ovum, many more than she will ever produce. At this early stage, it has two sets of ovaries and an oviduct. The left side develops and the right side regresses. It becomes non-functional in adult birds. Each ovum starts as a single cell surrounded by vitelline membrane, a clear casing that encloses the egg yolk. As the hen approaches puberty, the ovum matures and additional yolk forms on each ovum. It starts with a layer of fat forming on a single cell. The next day, the first egg cell gets a second layer of fat, and another egg cell gets its first layer of fat. The day after that, the first egg cell gets a third layer of fat. This process goes on each day until there is a grape-like structure of ova of varying sizes. These are the yellow ova that you're seeing hanging like a grape. At this point, a pullet or young hen is ready to start laying eggs. The first step in this process is ovulation. The frequency of ovulation is a direct result of many things. 1, the amount of light exposure. 2, the weight of the bird. The first step in this process is ovulation. The frequency of ovulation is the direct result of many factors. One of the most important of them is the light. With natural or artificial light, exposure of about 14 hours a day, a hen may ovulate again from 30 minutes to just over 1 hour from the time the previous egg has been laid. The second factor that helps in ovulation is the weight of the bird. The bird must have achieved a certain weight in order to be able to ovulate and to lay an egg. The third factor is stress, the conditions of the house. The chicken should not be stressed. They should have enough spacing. They should not be stressed by predators, noise, loud noises, thunderstorms, and many other things that can stress a chicken. And therefore, all these factors combine together to allow your chicken to ovulate and to give you eggs. And therefore, when you get your eggs very early, it means that you've actually met all these criteria very early, and therefore you are able to get the eggs. And this is why we were able to get our eggs. We had the right feed, lighting, the right weight, the right housing, no overcrowding, and enough water and feed all the time. And our birds attained their weight a bit earlier, and therefore we were able to start receiving our first eggs from very early in week 15, and we're still receiving many more eggs. So let's continue with this process of ovulation and producing an egg. Process of laying an egg from the ovum to the egg takes 26 hours. This is more like an assembly line, and we're going to look at this process and see what happens in each of those hours. The mature ovum or laid egg cell is released into the oviduct. It is released from the ovaries and drops into this basket that's called the epidulum. The sac that has enclosed the cell now ruptures, and naturally, and the yolk begins its 26-hour journey or trip through the oviduct. Let's look at the 26-hour trip from the yolk to the egg. The beginning of the oviduct is the infundibulum. The infundibulum is about 3 to 4 inches in length. It is shaped like a funnel, as if the ovum were a basketball. It is made to engulf the stationary yolk. It is here that fertilization of the egg would occur if the pullet or the hen was to mate with a cock. But note that mating has no influence on ovulation and on egg production. During the 15 to 18 minutes, the yolk is in this section. The suspensory ligaments of the yolk, known as the chalazae, are produced. They serve to keep the yolk properly oriented in the center of the egg. The next 13 inches of the oviduct is called the magnum, or rather, in Latin, it means large. The developing egg stays in the magnum for approximately 3 hours. It is at this time the yolk gets its covering of the albumin or the egg white. It is interesting to note that there is more albumin than is needed to cover a yolk at any given time. This abundance of albumin can actually cover 2 yolks that may have been released at the same time. It creates 2 formed yolks in one eggshell. These are the infamous double yolkers. The third section of the oviduct is the isthmus. This is a narrow band of tissue that connects 2 larger parts of a structure. Its function is to create the inner and the outer shell membrane. Constriction on the forming egg while progressing through the isthmus. Constriction occurs on the forming egg while progressing through the isthmus for each length. The future egg remains here for 75 minutes. The membrane has a look and texture similar to the onion skin. You may have noticed the shell membrane attached to the shell when you have broken open an egg. This membrane protects the contents of the egg from bacterial invasion and prevents rapid moisture loss. Nearing the end of the assembly line, the egg enters the shell gland. It is 4 up to 5 minutes in length. The egg remains here for the longest time during its assembly. More than 20 hours of the 26 hours needed to create an egg will be spent in this region of the oviduct. This is where the egg's shell is formed. Made largely of calcium carbonate, it is a tremendous drain on the body calcium of the hen. Almost half of the calcium needed to produce this protected shell is taken from the hen's bones. The rest of the calcium demand comes from the feed. One other influence occurs at this time of the heritage of the hen dictates it. It is the pigmentation. Pigment disposition or the coloring of the egg shells gives its appearance. This is where, if it is a brown hen, then the eggshell will be brown. If it is white, then the eggshell will be white. This is where the color of the shell of the egg is determined. The last part of the oviduct is the vagina. It is about 4 to 5 inches in length. It has no part in the egg's formation. The vagina is a muscular tube that pushes and turns the egg 180 degrees so as to be laid large and fast. This rotation allows the egg to be in its strongest position for proper laying. It is nearly impossible to break an egg by simply squeezing it with one hand from end to end. Just before the egg is laid, while still in the vagina, it is covered with bloom or a cuticle. This coating seals the pores and prevents bacteria from getting inside the shell, and also reduces moisture loss. From the vagina, the completed egg enters the cloaca and through the vent to the laying box. The reproductive system of the female chicken is a fascinating assembly line that produces one of the world's most perfect foods. I trust you now understand better some of the demands on a hen in the production of an egg. It is no wonder she celebrates with a resounding cackle after accomplishing such a feat.